Hello and welcome, all you beautiful and lovely souls. I hope you're having an amazing day. Um, so the topic of this video is going to be just kind of a candid talk on mental health struggles in general. Particularly, I'm going to be speaking from my experience with mental health struggles, but I'll touch on being mindful of, you know, keeping your mental health at your best possible if you can. These, as you know, these are challenging times in general, but everybody's going through their unique struggle, journey, path, and if I could provide any words of wisdom or inspiration, I'm happy to do it. And I just want to let you know that you're not alone. We're all going through our own individual challenges and struggles, and I'm only one person, and I'm not a therapist or a psychiatrist or anything like that. But I am somebody who's willing to listen and be there as much as I can be. If anybody needs, a shoulder to cry on, or somebody to, lend a listening ear and a caring heart, I'll be there for you as much as I can. All right. So before I really get into it, I want to say a very happy belated Father's Day to all the amazing fathers out there. And a happy Juneteenth, and happy Pride. So what is Juneteenth while I'm on that? Juneteenth is a holiday celebrated on June 19th that commemorates the announcement of the abolition of slavery in the United States, specifically marking the day in 1865 when enslaved people in Texas learned that they were free. It became a federal holiday in 2021, recognized for its significance in African American history and culture. Juneteenth is the oldest known celebration commemorating the ending of slavery in the United States. While it's only recently an official holiday in 2021, it's been celebrated, of course, as long as it's been a reality since 1865. Dating back to 1865, it was on June 19th that the Union soldiers, led by Major General Gordon Granger, landed at Galveston, Texas, with news that the war had ended and that enslaved people were now free. This was 2.5 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, which had become official on January 1st, 1863. The Emancipation Proclamation had little impact on the Texans due to the minimal number of Union troops to enforce the new executive order. However, with the surrender of General Lee in April of 1865 and the arrival of General Granger's regiment, the forces were finally strong enough to influence and overcome the resistance. All right, before I get into the topic today of mental health struggles and me having a candid talk about that, please, I encourage you to hit that like button if you enjoy this. Comment down below and let me know your thoughts and feelings in the moment as well. Turn on the bell, subscribe and turn on the bell if you love this content and you would want to see more like it. And even donate if you feel called. Namaste. So, I'm good overall right now. I can't complain. I feel lucky and blessed in an overall sense. But I've been through some highs and lows recently, definitely, and especially in my past. And I'm here to talk about that right now. Um, Recently, political events and goings on in the world have put a damper on my mood, with the exception of No King's Day. Um, but even that was marred by a bit of violence, not locally, but of course in Minnesota, if you're all aware of that. Unfortunately, elected representative in Minnesota, a congresswoman, was assassinated. Um, but in spite of all that, I'm trying not to let what's going on overall get me down as much as possible. Um, but yeah, that's kind of been the main sources of my highs and lows lately. The the current political goings on in the world right now. Also, my job can be challenging at times. I won't get too much into it, but I do vegetation management work for a public utility. But specifically, what I've been doing a lot lately is what's called interferences. I've been working on that, and just some difficult, challenging interactions with customers to navigate from time to time. Most of the time is actually good lately. That's what I've noticed. A lot of the times, like anybody else, they just want to be heard. They want to vent their problems or issues, whatever's going on, and they want to get on the same page with our team and get clarity as to what's going on with tree and vegetation work on their property to keep those power lines safe, right? But sometimes there can be some challenging interactions, and that can, that can get to me sometimes, but I've got to, it's not always easy. Like sometimes I don't keep this in the front of my mind, but I need to definitely take it to heart more. Stay calm, stay centered, stay balanced and grounded, and if any of those kind of interactions happen, when the phone call ends, just take a breather, step aside, take a few minutes, take a few breaths, whatever is necessary to get me back in a good mood and get back to it. And prior to that, another source of just mental health issues and turmoil recently has been my financial situation. As you may know, I quit my old job a while back in early April, and I started a new job as a biologist, like a surveying biologist for a public utility, to look for any bird nests that needed to be noted and protected, or any rare species, and identify that. But it unfortunately only lasted a couple of weeks with them. Just training didn't go so well with them. The pay was really low and crummy, and then they were expecting me to buy like books and equipment and stuff that I couldn't afford. They were expecting me to get that stuff to help me with my training, which I perfectly understand, but I couldn't afford that. So yeah, and they kind of gave me an ultimatum. You can continue to work with us. You can continue to train with us, rather, but it'll be unpaid. Like, you've kind of ran into your paid training allotment, and we aren't particularly satisfied with your training and your expertise so far. So basically, you do need more training, but we're not willing to pay for it. Like, you've reached your paid training allotment. Either you continue with us and do some unpaid training, or, bye. And I chose the latter because it was hard for me to do that, because that was absolutely something that I was looking forward to doing. Like, it really felt like an amazing change of career. Like, being an ecologist, environmentalist, a biologist, it's something that I've wanted to do my whole, not my whole life, but even going back to middle school, it's something that I've wanted to do in some capacity for a long time. And it was really hard to be given that ultimatum and then to have to make that choice. But at the end of the day, that job was not even making ends meet at all. As much as I loved it and enjoyed it, and was trying to make the most of it as far as the training went, in spite of the lack of funds to buy that what they were expecting me to buy, it was hard to make that decision. It was kind of like gut wrenching, but I had to do it. They weren't paying enough. The pay was too low, and then they were telling me, like, oh, you can only do an unpaid training now. It's like, are you kidding me? But very fortunately, sorry about that. Only a few days after they gave me that ultimatum and I made my decision, sayonara, bittersweet sayonara. Just a few days later, I was hired by my old job, by my old company, but in a different capacity. And that was just so exciting and thrilling. Initially, they didn't have like an opening in my local area, in my county. So I spent a few weeks on this special project, like the transmission lines, doing vegetation surveying, and basically giving the tree crews directions to go to these locations, go to these properties, and do vegetation clearing around these transmission structures. So I was doing that for a few weeks, and then finally a spot opened up for me in Sonoma on the local distribution team. So I jumped at that opportunity. I was so excited, and like, it's a 10-minute drive to the office, but I don't spend all my time in the office, of course. I go out to the field regularly as well, but as much as I may have talked crap about my old job in the past, so it's such a huge relief, because I know I'm going to be financially secure and stable. I'm already, in a much better place than I had been. And, just so thankful to my gods and goddesses, particularly Lakshmi, thankful to the universe and life that things aligned to put me back in my old job, yes, but in a new capacity that works out so much better for my life. It was definitely hard leaving that biological surveying opportunity, but it needed to be done, and B, as much as I talk crap about the old job, it's really not that bad, and the pay's decent, and it's awesome being outdoors from time to time and just taking in the scenery, and that's just a tremendous aspect of the job as well, and connecting with customers sometimes on a personal basis is really nice. Plus, too, and have a great team of coworkers as well. They're amazing. Yeah, really nothing but good things to say about the new job, or the old job, but in a new capacity. It's a challenge, yes, and it's not exactly, my true cup of tea as far as fulfillment and satisfaction with my career. But it is what it is. It pays the bills, and it's definitely a good job opportunity. So I'm just very thankful, very appreciative for it. But yeah, back to the kind of candid talk about mental health issues. I just want to say life is worth living even during the hard times. And, definitely in the past, more so than recently, that's been a little bit of a challenge. Not so much like I wanted to, end my life or something. No, not something that grave, but like I was alluding to, I've been through a lot of mental highs and lows in my life, and I'm sure everybody who's watching right now has had those highs and lows yourself. Recently it's been the financial struggles, and but thankfully that's kind of coming to an end, though I still have quite a lot of debts to pay. So still a challenge, but it's such a weight off my shoulders to be able to, pay my bills and not have to worry again. So that, and the political and current events climate, especially with news of this horrible war between Israel and Iran breaking out now, and I just, I pray for peace. I pray for love and compassion and calm in this time, this difficult time. Only so much I can do as one individual person, but yeah, that, and just the current political climate and goings on here in the United States as well. It's it's hard to say it hasn't got to me, because it absolutely has from time to time. I'm trying my best to stay mindful and stay, stoic and calm and grounded, but I can't say that it doesn't get to me from time to time. But yeah, as far as my past, it's been a kind of a rocky roller coaster of sorts. There was one especially hard time when, my mom was not accepting of me when I came out to her. I came out that I was trans, and I want to, socially and, medically transition. And she didn't take too kindly to that initially. It was really hard for her, I guess. I guess she felt like she kind of lost her boy, if you will. um, at first, but you know, she came around, and I think she realizes and sees, you know, that I'm still the same me, essentially, just presenting in a different way. And you know, have always kind of been, you know, on the feminine and gentle side. So, you know, it shouldn't have come as that much of a surprise, really. But, you know, I think it's hard when she's, you know, raised me from birth up until, you know, 20 something, and now I'm coming out. And it's like, it was hard for her to adjust and take that in. You know, I guess a tough pill to swallow, if you will. But yeah, you know, she had even threatened to kick me out at one point. Yeah, I mean, the threat didn't last long before she took back her words, but you know, it really hit me in the gut. Like, it was really a gut punch. It hit me like a ton of bricks at the time that she told me that, and at the time that happened. You know, she threatened to kick me out, and you know, was saying, you know, go be with um, go be with your girlfriend. Like, you're like, I can't have you around right now. Like, I don't know. You know, at this point, it's a lot of water under the bridge. Like, things have changed a lot between her and I. You know, we're on much better terms than back then. But yeah, she, you know, really threatened to kick me out. I guess she, you know, thought I was going a little nutso, and she didn't want to support me anymore, or something, something to that effect. Like, at least that's how she framed it. But I know it was just a matter of it being hard for her to adjust to that new reality, and using my new name and my new pronouns and stuff. But yeah, I'll just say it really hit me hard, and that was definitely one of, like, the lowest points in my mental health, and my life in general at that particular time. And you know, I was contemplating ending it. I was really contemplating ending my life. I didn't have like a serious plan of what I do, like serious ideation of like what I was gonna do to, I don't know, make that happen or whatever. But I was absolutely thinking about, you know, ending it at that time. I'm so thankful to her and to the universe in general that you know, within only a day or two, she came around and you know, said, I love you. I love you and I accept you. I love you for who you are. And, you know, she welcomed me back into her house and her life. And, you know, we've had such a better relationship since then. Yeah, that's really been, I'd say, the low point for my mental health and my life in general. And, but yeah, other than that, things have generally been much better, much higher, lighter. in my life than that particular point. It's just a lot of a lot of highs and lows, roller coaster in my life. I'd say the biggest challenges in my life have kind of in some way revolved around finances. Also relationships coming and going as well. You know, some relationships, saying goodbye to them has been easier than others. Others have been really difficult. You know, I'm so happy and grateful that I have, you know, a sweet, loving, funny partner that, you know, we've been together for 5-6 years now. Just very happily so. But as I was saying, those low events have kind of often revolved around finances as well. You know, I definitely didn't come from a well-to-do family, silver spoon. You know, I'm white and privileged, and I was, you know, raised, if you will, as a male, but, you know, transitioned to being female. You know, and being trans female has been its own, you know, whole set of difficulties and challenges to navigate. You know, thankfully, being in California, living in California has made that so much easier. So, you know, I didn't have to worry too much about finding a job and being socially accepted in general. But, you know, there also have been challenges, just, you know, being trans as well. And I think it possibly could have been a factor in why I didn't get one job, even after going through 2 interviews. I thought, dang, I am so close to getting this job. I really hope I get it. And got the bad news. I didn't get it. I even had to take an exam for that job too, because it was a registration that I had to get. I had to take that exam and I passed it, and then I had those 2 interviews and still didn't get it. You know, and I can't help but thinking, you know, maybe being trans, like maybe that was part of why I didn't get it, because that was early on in my transition to as well. You know, kind of that awkward stage where, you know, you could kind of tell I used to be male, but I was absolutely presenting as female, and you know, had a very like formal blouse, vest, and skirt, and you know, heels, but like nice formal professional heels and everything. Didn't get it. I can't help but thinking, you know, it could have been because I'm trans, but maybe not. Maybe it was something else. Maybe it was my lack of significant prior experience, or the right kind of internships or connections. That absolutely could have been part of it too. So, anywho, yeah. I would say, other than just regular old life struggles, something that I have mentioned in the past in one of my videos is I think I may be dealing with kind of high functioning ADHD and high functioning anxiety. I have not been clinically diagnosed for either of those. I haven't been clinically diagnosed for anything. You know, I just have gender dysphoria, you know, and thankfully that's not, you know, psychological diagnosis, like DMS diagnosis, how it used to be in the past. But It's like, hello, we're not crazy, we're just different, right? Our who we are here and in our soul just doesn't agree with how we started biologically, right? um you know just how there's folks that are you know gay, LGB, that um is outside of the norm. There's folks that are trans and that's outside of the norm, but that's just part of life, that's just part of reality. Like, we aren't the only species, first of all, that has these you know sexually complicated or sexually diverse beings among their kind, among their species. And we're definitely not the only species that has homosexual relationships also, for example. Um, and I know it comes off as defensive, like I'm just defending myself and my identity and my community. Um, and in some sense, that's kind of necessary. In some sense, that's kind of not. People who are hateful and bigoted and ignorant and closed-minded are most of the time, unfortunately, going to stay that way. Um, until it affects them personally, until they have some kind of personal relationship with somebody who's queer or trans, and they realize, we're not the monsters or freaks that, like, say, the conservative media paints us to be, right? But yeah, aside from gender dysphoria, I don't have any kind of clinical diagnoses of any kind, but I do believe I may be dealing with a case of high functioning ADHD, high functioning anxiety, and I do have bouts and episodes of what you could call depression from time to time. It's not clinical depression. It's not something that's like really intense or really long lasting, something that would give me pause, like, okay, maybe I need to get this checked out. But the other two, the ADHD, the anxiety, yeah, maybe at some point I should get that checked out, just so I know, and just so I have some kind of ideas and context about how to better navigate it. I'm doing the best that I can with the tools that I have, like, for example, meditation, yoga, just practicing mindfulness, affirmations, and all that stuff. And absolutely that helps, but it's not a panacea or a cure-all. It doesn't 100% help all the time. It's kind of, I can tell that it's kind of always just sitting there in the background too, even when I'm feeling great in general, because it pops back up and flares back up from time to time, and that's just how it is, right? But the depression is like, it's more of a kind of a once in a blue moon thing, if you will. But yeah, I just encounter these times where once in a while I have like a low mood or low motivation, and it's really hard to snap myself out of it. But at least it doesn't last too long. At least it's not too intense. So that's how I know, this is really just a case of the blues and maybe laziness, lack of motivation, procrastination, right? More so than it is, something that might be clinical depression. But as far as the ADHD, the anxiety, it could be something that is worth checking out clinically. But it's definitely a high functioning thing for me. I can, manage and navigate my life pretty well. So, yeah. Another thing I wanted to talk about in this video is like substance use. That has been a little bit of a challenge for me in the past as well. Somehow or the other, I've been able to navigate myself out of it without any, rehab or whatever. I consider myself very lucky and fortunate for that. So I'll just go through what I've been through in the past. Like, yeah, I'd say probably I've never had like a clinical substance abuse disorder, and that's probably why it's been so easy for me to say, hey, I'm not doing this anymore at a certain point. But, definitely can't be said for most people that have had struggles with substances, right? And I consider myself so lucky, grateful, fortunate for that, but I absolutely feel for you and here for you guys, and I hope, one day you find the support and the strength to become sober and stay sober. Wishing you the best, wishing you abundant love and success with that. But I'll just say, so what I have struggled with in the past. Okay, I have, on and off with alcohol, right? But nothing serious, nothing where it's like repeatedly I'm getting drunk day after day or week after week, right? And not really episodes of binge drinking, just something that's there. And that's okay. Like, moderation's great, but I'm at a point in my life and I'm not such a big fan of drinking, so I'm at a point where drinking is really a once in a blue moon kind of social event, usually just with my partner, but it's like definitely once in a blue moon, like once every couple of months we'll get drunk, or maybe not even get drunk, just have like a drink and feels good, but we're not really like passed out drunk, nothing like that. And that's really just a once in a while thing, right? So there's that. And then there's marijuana. Marijuana has been a little bit more of a struggle or challenge for me. And I get it. Like, it's not necessarily an addictive substance either. It's more so habit forming. There's a kind of a fine line, a gray area between, what is habit forming and what is actually like chemical dependency. And definitely for me, with marijuana, it's been more so a habit, right? A habit, nothing chemically dependent. But there's been these times, these episodes, like, a few months at a time where I'm just every day, or taking edibles every day for months on end. And then there's these other periods of time where I don't have any weed for months, or I basically restrict it to like once or twice a week, and it works out fine, right? But I'm at the point where it's like, yeah, we can be fun from time to time, and it's kind of like with drinking. Like, now it's something that I we'll really only have once in a while, once in a blue moon, right? Just for fun, just for shits and giggles, right? But like, I don't really, get much from it. I don't really get that kind of satisfaction or whatever that I used to get from weed. It's, it's not so much that I've developed a tolerance for it because, I've taken long breaks away from it, and I still, like once in a while I'll have an edible or whatever, and it's, it's fun, it's enjoyable, but I don't really get much out of it. Like, I feel that effect. I feel the effect of it because I've been, sober from it for a while, and then I have it, and, I feel that effect, but it doesn't really, hit me the same way as it used to, I guess you could say. Like, it's not as fun or enjoyable as it may have been in the past. And, yeah, that's just how it is. So I'm at a point where, if I'm not really getting much out of it, I really only have it once in a while, or maybe like if I'm struggling a little bit mentally, like not having had the best of days, so I want to have something to relax in, or if I'm having some kind of like pain or digestive issues or like a headache or something, I might have it, once in a while then as well, and it kind of helps ease that pain, right? But again, it's really just a once in a blue moon thing, or maybe a few times a month, but that's pretty much what it's limited to at this point with marijuana. Yeah, something else I've also encountered is, believe it or not, METH. Yeah, somebody several years back offered me METH, and I took them up on the offer, and had a good time with them while on it, but thankfully didn't develop any kind of chemical dependency to it. Yeah, the next day after I cleaned up from it, like, one day I had it and then the next day I didn't. It was a bit difficult. It was just like my mood was low mainly. That was the biggest thing. My mood and my energy, my motivation was lower than normal, but I thankfully didn't have any other kind of like severe effects or withdrawals or anything, because it was really just like all of 2 days that I happened to have that METH, and then get off of it. So maybe I just thankfully didn't have enough time with it to develop a chemical dependency to it. But one way or the other, I did not get a chemical dependency to it, and I'm very thankful for that, and never have touched it since then. What else? There's also been this substance that's technically legal. At least it's legal in most states, but I know it's not legal in all states in the United States. But this substance called kratom, and I've had that from time to time, and it's really, it's kind of like caffeine in a way, but it has a different sort of effect. It's more so like mood boosting than caffeine is, but it's definitely, you definitely get a good energy boost and a mood boost from kratom. But one thing is you can develop a chemical dependency from it, and I kind of have felt those effects from it in the past. Unfortunately, it's like you slowly start to build up a tolerance to it, and you and let's say you like cut the dose in half, or you cut cut the dose altogether, um, like from one day to the next. Oh, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel like your energy and your motivation crash pretty hard, and that's what I've felt. It's, it's not fun. And another thing with it is, it, at least for me, it can cause you some digestive issues, some digestive distress. Um, and what I've learned about kratom from doing some research about it, it's not necessarily terrible for you, like um, like in terms of long term health effects or anything like that. It's just you can definitely get a dependency to it. You can get a tolerance to it. Neither of which is good, right? Um, and then those digestive issues suck. Sometimes it's worse than others, but it's absolutely not a fun time when it happens. Um, and for that reason, I've really only had kratom. Yeah, maybe a couple dozen times in the past, I guess. Really, when I kind of haven't had enough sleep, or I'm feeling really like low and demotivated, just when I'm really, really in a low energy or low motivation state, I've had kratom. I've resorted to it, and it's helped me push past that. So, in that sense, yeah, kratom's great, but in the sense of what happens afterwards, it's not so good. And for that reason, I've cut it out of my life altogether. I've been at least like a month perfectly, completely clear from kratom. So please wish me luck as I continue keeping clean from that. Um, and that brings up caffeine, because, right, like I said, caffeine has similar effects to kratom. Um, but that's the thing, caffeine is more mild, right? But caffeine also causes me some digestive issues, some digestive distress, especially if it's in high amounts, right? And you know, it definitely can help me. Obviously, if I have low energy, didn't get enough sleep, it doesn't necessarily help me out with my mood, though. If my mood's low, it's probably gonna stay low, but at least I'll have, energy to make it through the day, right? Um, but what I've learned is caffeine is not a substitute for sleep. It's not a substitute for balancing your energy. And I'm saying that somewhat from a place of privilege, right? Because I don't have to take care of children or something. I don't have excessively long work days. I only work the normal 5/8s, right? The normal 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, um, usually, right? So I don't Um, I have, what I'm trying to say is I have that luxury to kind of keep my caffeine consumption to a minimum or not have it all together if I wanted, right? Um, but yeah, it's those digestive issues, and also like kratom, there's this energy crash, um, either later in the day or the next day. It'll cause my energy to be lower than it was. It's just more so a milder crash than it is with kratom. So, yeah. Caffeine is also something I've been trying to keep to a minimum. Or, I had some, like most of a can of Gaiaki just yesterday, but that's because I didn't get much sleep the night before. But what I'm realizing is it's not a substitute for just getting a good night's sleep. And if you do get a good night's sleep, and as long as you're able to A, sleep the whole night through, and B, you don't have to work excessively long hours, you really don't need caffeine in your life. It's a stimulant, and it has a little bit of addictive and chemical dependency properties to it, especially in high amounts. So why not cut it out? So I think I might be not necessarily going 100% cold turkey with caffeine in the future, but like 90% there. Um, Another thing to mention that I have dealt with is shrooms. Now, shrooms are a whole other ball game, and they're not necessarily, you know, addictive. They're not necessarily addictive. You don't really develop a chemical dependency. It's more so the psychoactive properties, right? You just basically get a temporary psychosis from having shrooms. Um, and as much as I've had some, interesting and profound experiences on shrooms, and I'm definitely going to bring that up in a future video. It's definitely something to really only have once in a while. Like I'd caution you, if you have shrooms, really only have it once in a while, my friends. It can be, yes, profound, but it can be intense. And it's something you really only want to do if you're in a safe space and with good company around, right? Especially if you're gonna have like high doses of it. If you're just gonna have one little bit of a shroom, you're probably fine. But I wouldn't, go out there and like start driving or doing whatever out there, like physical labor or driving out there in the real world. Even if you have a little bit, I definitely don't recommend it. But and that's for that reason I've only had shrooms a few times, and it's been in the comfort of my own home and in good company with my partner right by my side. So yeah, so it's like I'm trying to say, there's nothing necessarily wrong with taking shrooms, right? Just be smart about it. Especially because the fact, like, in most states in the United States, it is illegal. So, be smart and be discreet about it. That's all I'll say. But another thing with shrooms that is being evaluated for treating certain mental health diagnoses, right? Especially PTSD, and it's shown a lot of success with that. Um, I can't speak to that, but it's like shrooms actually definitely have a medicinal aspect or component to them, just like cannabis does. So for them to be illegal just makes no sense. Like they should be regulated, just how cannabis is regulated, just how alcohol is really regulated. And alcohol, don't get me started with that. It's like there's zero medicinal value with alcohol, but yeah, it's legal, and it really shouldn't be, right? No, I won't say that because the prohibition happened and that was a crap show, right? It should be illegal. I mean, it should be legal. It should be free for people to enjoy, right? It's just there's zero medicinal properties yet that's legal, but cannabis, shrooms, they have medicinal properties, but they're still not fully legal, or they're very much so illegal in most states, and that's something that needs to change, right? But yeah, like with shrooms, I've really only had it a few times, and it'll really only be a once in a blue moon thing. Definitely like a couple of times a year, and that's it for me with shrooms. It's fun and interesting and profound, the like experiences you may have with shrooms, but you just gotta be careful with it because of the psychosis type effects too, and the perception alteration effects of it. Just be careful, be smart. All right, back on the topic of my recent mental health ups and downs, and it's kind of a lot of it's kind of revolved around my finances and work situation. And thankfully, it's gotten a lot better. Like, thank you so much, gods and goddesses. Thank you so much, universe. But, with my old job, the biological surveying job, if I can touch on that again, I really didn't know how bad it would or could get, and that's the thing. Hindsight is very much 2020. It was a lesson in being more realistic, pragmatic, and practical. It's a strong reminder that I need to create a stable base upon which to build my dreams and create a path to further fulfillment and abundance. Even if my current job is not necessarily really what I wanted to do with my life, it pays the bills, and even though it's not necessarily super fulfilling to me individually, personally, it's helping me have that stable base to build my dreams and create a path to greater fulfillment and abundance. And even if I'm doing something with my day job that I don't find particularly fulfilling or interesting, I'm still doing something that is a net good in the world, and I'll be making money while I'm at it, so all the better. As long as I'm creating a net good in the world and doing a net positive service in the world in both my personal and professional lives, I'm on the right path and doing the right thing in the world, and I cannot complain about that. But yeah, like I was saying, the experience with my old job, was definitely a big lesson in focusing on creating a stable base upon which to build my dreams, like a strong reminder in the need to create that stability, right? But also just a huge reminder to be grateful for what I have, grateful for all the blessings, financially, materially, and as far as my coworkers, my family, all of that. Just to be so grateful for all that I have in my life right now, because things can change pretty quickly if you let them slide, unfortunately. Um, yeah, as far as the current events and the political climate, taking a toll on my mental health, I've already touched on that, so I won't get too much into that. But for the 14th, when I went out there for the No Kings Day, I just kind of had to suck it up and be there at that protest, because I felt, such an obligation to be there. And I just had to make a promise to myself that I will better manage my news and social media consumption and my stress level overall, and my overall mental health going forward. And that's what I've been working on the past few days as well. Um, and I'm so glad that I did go to that protest on the 14th, for No King's Day. Um, I went to the No King's Day protest and march here in my city in Northern California, on the 14th, and I was so proud of my city. Easily a couple of thousand, if not more, were there. It was a defiant but peaceful, jubilant, and hopeful experience. So I was really glad to be there. Um, I think now more than ever, it is so important for us to protect our communities, protest, stand up, and speak out and take political action. We should all do what we can, when and where we can, in whatever way we can, whatever difference we can make, big or small, um, while also listening to our bodies, minds, and souls, and taking a rest and taking care of ourselves when we need to. Yeah, that's really all I had to say about having a candid talk with you guys as far as my mental health goes, currently and in the past. I can definitely go in more detail, and I probably will touch on some more things in a future video, as far as my past experiences. But that's where I'll leave it for now. It's already quite a long video, and I thank you so much for, if you've made it this far and you've bared with it. But yeah, feel free to add to the comment section. Feel free to share and express your feelings and your just your thoughts and feelings, your current mental health situation, and I'll do my best to respond to those comments and help you out in any way I can. But to some extent, the universe helps those who help themselves. You've got to be your own best resource, your own best champion. If you're going through a mental health issue or crisis or episode, or just think you may be dealing with something from time to time clinically, or you're just going through a rough patch and you need some help and support navigating it, definitely reach out. Not just to me. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychiatrist. Reach out to any licensed clinical therapist, psychiatrists. Get professional help if you need it. Absolutely do that. But also reach out to, friends, family, your community, make new friends, get a support network. Yeah, that's really all I have to say. If you're going through a tough time, you don't have to go through it alone. You are not alone. Um, if you have the means, both financially and connection support wise, if you have those means and resources, use them. Get professional help, get a support network going, and though those people are there for you to hear you out and to be a shoulder to cry on, and hopefully lift your mood and give you the tools and resources you need to elevate. And with that, I bid you guys adieu. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, amazing rest of your week, and wishing you so much peace and love. Namaste. Blessed be. Go in peace.